You've heard it said before, resist the enemy and he will flee. You've read in scripture, let go and let God. But how? What does letting go truly mean, and how do we stop resisting when it feels so natural to fight? And who is this enemy anyway? First of all, the problem isn't your inability to obey God. It is the perspective you're obeying him from. You're too attached to the problem, thinking you can solve it by wrestling with it. But here's the truth. The solution doesn't live within the problem. It exists outside of it, waiting for you to change your perspective. To stop resisting the enemy, you need to see the attachment for what it is. Resistance doesn't mean you're fighting the enemy. It means you're connected to it. The only reason we resist anything is that we identify with it. And when we identify with something, we try to control it. By identifying with the enemy, which the enemy is being your ego, your fears, and your past mistakes, you separate yourself from God, the very one you're seeking. You believe the enemy is blocking you from God, but the truth is, your wrestling keeps you looking in the wrong direction. Letting go isn't about trying to resist less. It's about releasing the identity attached to the struggle. When you stop identifying with the ego and allow God to lead, you align yourself with his will. When you resist the ego, you're still entangled with it or engaged with it. You're fighting your natural tendencies, rooted in unwanted feelings like fear and guilt. These feelings born from the ego pull you further from God. Think of it like this. Ego thrives on attention, even negative attention. By resisting, you're feeding the very thing you wanted to escape. It's a paradox. Resistance keeps you bound. Scripture teaches us not to resist an evil person. Matthew chapter 5, verse 39. Well, resistance keeps the fight alive, my friend. But when you accept the experience, the ego loses its grip. It loses its power. Acceptance doesn't mean agreeing with the enemy. It means seeing it for what it is, powerless in the light of Christ. When you stop resisting, something extraordinary happens. You find peace. The suffering you once fought against dissolves because you are no longer feeding it with resistance. To surrender feels counterintuitive. It is stillness, not reaction. It is trusting God to take control even when it feels like you're doing nothing. Think of a wild horse refusing to be tamed. It fights, resists, and thrashes until it tires. When it finally surrenders, it trusts the horseman's lead. That's what surrender looks like under the guidance of our good shepherd. Surrender isn't about trying to stop resisting. It's about realizing resistance isn't working and you gotta step back. It's about letting go of the illusion of control and trusting God completely. I mean completely. When you stop resisting suffering and you completely accept the process, the pain loses its power. Suffering no longer feels like suffering because you let go of judgment, and you no longer are fighting the current, you're flowing with it. This is where freedom lives, in surrender. When you allow yourself to experience life without resistance, you no longer are trapped and suffering. You step into the truth of who you are, one with Christ, the Prince of Peace. The ego thrives on illusion of making you believe you're separate from God. But when you accept it for what it is, its power dissolves. You forgive and you let go, and the chains of suffering fall away. Love defeats the enemy because love doesn't resist. Love observes. It doesn't absorb and allows you to step into kingdom power. I'd like to leave you with this quote from Ender's Game. In the moment when I truly understand my enemy, understand him well enough to defeat him, then in that very moment, I also love him. End quote. Learning to love your ego isn't easy, but it's about surrendering yourself to yourself. So I hope this message brought clarity and encouragement for you. If it resonated with you, please consider supporting this channel. Your likes and your shares and your subscriptions help spread this message of healing and hope. So thank you. Please join me daily at 1 o'clock p.m. and 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more spiritual insights like this video. If you'd like to donate, a link is provided in the description, as your support keeps me here on the daily. So thank you. Thank you for your time and your love and your support. Now please go make your day great. Mwah.